Okay, folks, let's take a good look here. Okay, I do watch boxing. I come from a boxing nation. More proud to watch boxing than even the people in the United States. And while I'm an avid boxing fan, I listen to all contents. And I do listen to Dante's Boxing Nation. I listen to other outlets. I listen to some outlets in Spanish. There's all types of outlets regarding boxing. Boxing in the UK. There's boxing in Mexico. I listen to all their podcasts on ESPN, ESPN Deportes. I listen to the YouTubers and their content. I just like boxing, period. I like all-around discussions. Now, recently, Abel Sanchez made a comment regarding the so-called black fighter. And of course, anytime when it comes to black fighter, you have to understand guys like Dante, because I listen to all his content. I know what he thinks about this subject. When you mention anything regarding to black, trust me, you're going to find Afro-Americans make it into a race issue. Now, the question is this. Was it a race issue? Is Abel Sanchez racist? Because he did an interview with Abel Sanchez, and after Dante finished, he started giggling and all this other stuff, because that's how black Americans are. They want to talk about racism, colorism, white supremacy. They hate the black man in America. They want to suppress us, and they don't want us fighting. Look, the same talking point. Now, let's start up the same thing over again. Let's look at Abel Sanchez. What did he say that was right or was wrong? Okay? And by the way, I'm not picking any sides. Abel Sanchez, a lot of stuff that he said was absolutely wrong. And a lot of stuff that he said also were kind of true. Dante's boxing, when he spoke, there are certain things that he said were true. But then there's a lot of other things that he was completely wrong. He's just wrong. Now, in regards to Abel Sanchez, he refers to the reason why is because no one wants to see black fighters because of their style. Black Americans took that, you don't want to see black fighters because you hate black people, it's their skin tone, and you don't want to see your fighter be a black man, and they go around and say, that's right, folks, black people are the best fighter in the whole wide world. Which, by the way, I'll give my personal opinion on that subject. Don't worry about that. Here's the thing about this. Regardless of what you agree or disagree, Abel Sanchez has the right to say his opinion. Okay? Just like Dante has the right to say his opinion. Abel Sanchez was pointing out that the fighting style that is of Floyd Mayweather, which is kind of like, I guess, what you call black style. I don't know. Black style is not attractive. Now, this is the part where I have to totally disagree with Abel Sanchez. And he's a complete idiot in this part. As a Mexican, there is no such thing as Mexican-style boxing. It does not exist. This term has been used around the late 90s, in the 90s, into the early 2000s as an actual style, when that's not even true. There is no such thing as Mexican style. Okay? There is no such thing as a black style. Those things don't exist. Okay? From what I have think about Mexican style boxing is more like an attitude. You're not going to give up. You're going to go forward. You're going to do this. It's more of an attitude. But to sit there and say it's Mexican style, black style, look, listen, you cannot say that, Abel, because as much as Dante is a total dick sucker to Floyd Mayweather, you cannot sit there and say that every single boxer boxes the same as black. You cannot say that in regards to black American boxers, because I've seen plenty of black American boxers that go forward and they are knocking people out. They're aggressive. They're irritating boxers. You cannot say that every single boxer. Now, if you're referring to the style of Floyd Mayweather, as someone that watches boxing, I do not like the way Floyd Mayweather fights. I think his fights are boring. That's my personal opinion. But it doesn't mean that every single black American with a dark complexion fights the same. In fact, this is the truth. In fact, most black American boxers, okay, most black American boxers do not fight the way Floyd fights. Very few. In fact, if anything, most black American boxers fight, if not more aggressive, and move forward in their fighting. But there's different type of styles, of course, and the same thing with Mexicans. Not every Mexican goes forward. There's some that do, there's some that don't. It just depends. And you can't sit there, and this is something I can't say Abel Sanchez. He's going around saying that, Canelo's running like Mayweather. You cannot say that because Canelo actually engages. Canelo actually goes forward and engages in a fight. If not more than it is Floyd Mayweather. Now, he mentioned about his training and him, Triple G, Gennady Golovkin, his fighter, talking about, I fight, he's aggressive and all that stuff. He talked about the dominant of European, particularly the Eastern Bloc, like Ukrainian, Russian fighters with Kazakhstan, that Eastern Bloc nations, that you see this rise of fighters. And he's saying that they're dominating the divisions. That's a lie. That's a sheer ass lie. I'm sorry. Are there talented Eastern European fighters or European fighters, white European fighters that are out of Ireland, England? Yeah, there is. There is. Are there a lot of talented Russian fighters out of nowhere now perform at a level? Yes, there is. There are but they're not dominating the divisions. That's not true. Now, this is my personal opinion. When it comes to race, ethnic, nationality, lump it all together, you ask me what's the rankings, who is the best fighters right now, in my personal opinion, as a boxing fan from Mexico, it is going to be, number one, black Americans. They're number one, okay? Not African, not black Caribbean, no. Black Americans, they're number one when it comes to boxing. Number two is going to be predominantly Mexican/Latino Hispanic fighters. Number three, you can put in probably now the Europeans, Eastern Europeans, then four Asians, and everything goes out. If you talk to any boxing fan, they'll tell you that's similar ranking. There is no way in hell that European, particularly East European fighters are above African American, Hispanic, Latino. No, you can't say that. In certain divisions, you might in one or two, but overall, you can't say that. And the only reason why Abel Sanchez is training this guy, Triple G, and all this other stuff is because the Kazakhstan country gives them a lot of money to help them train the fighters. Okay? A lot of trainers from other countries, particularly Mexico, like Russia, Ukraine, they actually pay a lot of money for them to fly over to Russia and train their fighters. Because there's a lot of money right now from these countries to pour in the boxing programs over there. Because it's big over there. And that's why Abel Sanchez is training Gennady Golovkin. Because he's been given a lot of money. Duh. I mean, did he slave his way? Of course he did. He had to work hard, whatever, whatnot. Which is true. But don't sit there and say race is not an issue. Yes, it can be an issue. Okay? Now, I told you my rankings of what I think, which groups are top tier in boxing. Yeah, I'll stick to my groups. Talk to any other, talk to any black American boxing fan. They'll probably see the same order of people who are in the ranks of the boxing world when it comes to racial, ethnic, national groups. This is probably the to your rankings here. Now, here's the thing with Abel Sanchez that I have no clue what he's saying to me personally, my personal opinion. First of all, let me explain something to you. Gennady Golovkin, he really fights really hard, and the style's outside. Listen, man, people don't know who he was, really, until he started calling out Canelo. Now, why is it that Gennady Golovkin is chasing after Canelo Alvarez? Because Canelo Alvarez has money. That's the only reason why people are all around chasing Canelo Alvarez, because he has money. That's why you see Abel say insulting you. Oh, it's insulting. You're running like Floyd, blah, blah, blah. Calling him out all the time. Why are you doing that? Because he has money. He's been calling that dude Canelo out for almost, 3.5 years. Why are you doing that? He could have fought Andre Ward. He could have fought Lara? He could have fought other fighters, but he chose not to because he waited for Canelo. Why did he wait for Canelo? Because that's where the guy who has the most money. Canelo Alvarez, which by the way, I personally believe Canelo Alvarez is way overrated. Talk to any actual true Mexican boxer from Mexico, they'll tell you he's way overrated. But the reality is he's the only guy right now in boxing that can draw a crowd, a big crowd. Is Canelo Alvarez. And that's the reason why Gennady Golovkin and Abel Sanchez wants to fight just Canelo, because he wants to milk the cow that is Canelo Alvarez. Because he's the one who brings all the money, because he has the huge fan base, which is mostly of Mexicans. Now, beyond that point, Abel Sanchez has some good points, okay, with regards to Dante. When he talked about race, Abel Sanchez is very correct about this. When you keep talking about race, Dante, he says the same things over and over and over. It's racism. Oh, and I heard one time he did a review of a fight with Leo Santa Cruz. And then he started saying, well, why doesn't Leo Santa Cruz want to fight? I forgot what black guy was involved. I know it's, besides Rigondeaux, he wanted this other black guy. Walters. And is it because she's black? And is Leo Santa Cruz racist? And she's scared? And I'm like, and I was thinking to myself, what did Leo Santa Cruz did that was racist? What did he do? Was there some sort of racial bias that he has? Then on his channel, if you go look at it, it says about Danny Garcia is scared of Errol Spencer. And then you see him like, oh, he's cherry picking because he's a black man. And Danny Garcia's afraid of him. And and the thing is, I have to ask a question to Dante. Dante, I don't know how to say this to you, but no one cares about Errol Spencer. Compared to Danny Garcia, no one cares about Errol Spencer. Danny Garcia doesn't have to fight Errol Spencer. I'm sorry. That's just the way the things are. This is the word I agree with Abel Sanchez on this part. Listen, the bottom line is this. When it comes to media, when it comes to all this other stuff, the reason why there's more attention to, let's say, fighters that are predominantly of Mexican, Latino, Puerto Rican fighters is because they draw the most. Now, of course, Dante brought up Floyd Mayweather and Andre Ward and all that stuff as examples that draw more, let's say, Orlando Salcido and everything like that, or Brandon Rios. But here's the difference with this. It's Orlando Salcido. Okay? It's Brandon Rios. You can't compare Andre Ward to Floyd Mayweather to those two guys. Those are club fighters. You can't compare that. And the thing about this is what they don't want to talk about this part here. The numbers that Andre Ward draw to fight, let's say, Sergey Kovalev, is because of Sergey Kovalev. What are you talking about? In New York? Really? I'll tell you why. Because in New York and New Jersey and the Northeast, there's a large number of Russians there. A lot of Russians they were watching. And the reason why those numbers were big was not because they wanted to watch Andre Ward. It's because it was Sergey, so it was Russian. That's why people saw it. Now, you don't want to hear that, but that's just the reality situation was. And the reason why I know that is because if you watch Andre Ward's fight on BET one time, what was the numbers for that? That was so low. And he fought another African-American fighter that no one knew about. His thing was low. Same thing with, Floyd Mayweather draws a lot. And he's like the Michael Jordan. You know, when Nacho Bernstein mentioned Floyd Mayweather as the Michael Jordan, he was referring to it as a marketer. Floyd Mayweather, when it comes to business, is the greatest marketer in boxing history. And he done it so well. But let's be honest ourselves here. The vast majority of people who watch Floyd Mayweather fight was not because they liked Floyd Mayweather. It's because most of the time he was annoying and they want him to lose. Why do you think he picked mostly Mexican fighters? Why do you think he always picked either Texas, Nevada, or California? You notice he was not fighting in New York. You notice he was not fighting in Miami. He was fighting only those. Why? Because of a large Mexican fan base. Because when you saw those fights against Mexicans, who were mostly there? Mostly Mexicans. There was barely any black Americans supporting Floyd Mayweather. And look who watched those fights. It was predominantly Mexicans. That's just the truth. Why do you think Pacquiao drew big? Because Pacquiao is Asian. He had a large fan base in Asia. They went and watched it. That's why. You know how I know this? Because guess what? After those fights, guess what? Floyd Mayweather fought Berto. Berto is Black Haitian American. You want to see the numbers for that fight versus Floyd Mayweather? Very, very, very low. In fact, when was the last time Floyd Mayweather fought another black man that drew a crowd? You have to go all the way back to Shane Mosley versus Floyd Mayweather. That was like what, 2007, 2005? See, they don't want to talk about stuff like this. And then they talked about, I'm so shocked that Canelo versus Cotto drew so big over there. I mean, it was barely promoted. Well, of course it was barely promoted because, bro, it's Mexico versus Puerto Rico. That's going to be a big draw. Listen, as much as I say that African Americans are number one when it comes to the East Indies, which is true, they are number one, my personal opinion. When it comes to draws, when it comes on an average basis, most of the Latino fighters draw more. I live in the Northeast region. I live around Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, Delaware, South Jersey area right now. And let me tell you something right now. You will see more Puerto Ricans trying to see their fighter than there's any black American find their own fighter. Dante doesn't want to hear that. Well, I live in the Northeast and you see a lot of most Puerto Ricans are not supporting black American fighters. Most of them are not. This is something that black Americans do not want to hear. Black Americans do not support their fighters. I've seen this so many times. I've been to Bethlehem. There to Philly. I see nothing but 1,000 Puerto Ricans in one room, and there was a one black fighter, black American fighter, and you see only his family members, and that was it. And everyone was cheering on for the Puerto Rican fighter. And promoters see that, and guess what's going to be the next fight? Puerto Rican. That's why you see a lot of Puerto Rican fighters in main events and many undercards in these areas. Because they draw. Many black Americans are living off the fantasy what happened back in the 70s and 80s and early 90s. And I keep trying to tell you, it has changed in boxing. Those days are over. The average black American does not support their black American boxers. They don't have their own businesses to support their black boxers. They don't have that. That's why promoters see that. They don't want to get involved with black fighters because you don't promote them. You don't support them. They see those Puerto Ricans, they get 1,000 people showing up, they're going to cater to those people. If Earl Spencer only draws, 100 people versus Danny Garcia might draw 1,000, who are they going to cater towards to? It doesn't matter how much wins or loses, whatever crap, they're going to cater Danny Garcia. Why? He draws the crowd. Because business. Why do you think this past week you had Mexicans in the main events in ESPN and HBO? Because they draw crowds. If they were all African-American fighters, they will not draw crowds. But Andre Ward, but Floyd Mayweather. Okay, besides those two, what about the other people? Not that many. Are there certain situations, like Terrence Crawford, outside of Lincoln, Nebraska, does he draw? Not that much. And I'm talking about black American boxers because if you mean blacks from other countries, at least they got a fan base. Those suckers support their boxers. Jamaican fighters, so many Jamaicans support that guy. When the Haitian, like Berto was in charge, lots of Haitians support that Haitian guy. When it comes to black Americans, they don't do that. That's why now boxing has gone towards more of the international fighter than it is the American fighter. Because Americans are not watching boxing as much. And the only people, and the only reason why, the only thing that boxing is still alive right now in the United States is because most of the Latino, Mexican, Puerto Rican fighters and the other Latino fighters, they're the only ones that are really filling up these stands and actually supporting them and actually making this sport at least livable in the United States. They don't want to talk about that. Whether you like it or not, a lot of those Latino fan bases, especially Mexican fan bases, they're the ones that at least are giving some sort of life support to boxing in the United States. Without that, boxing is dead in the USA. That's why so many investors and promoters go to California, go to Texas, go to New York, go to all these other places, go down to Miami, Orlando. Why? Because that's where a large Latino, Hispanic boxers are, and those suckers support their fighters. You guys don't. And of course, every time when I mention this, it's Floyd Mayweather, Andre Ward, and I keep trying to tell them all the time that that's a very small portion. And the only boxer that I can think who's African American could be a star is Wilder. Just he needs to promote himself more, get a better promotion company. I don't know what's going on with y'all, but he needs to be out there. And that's what Abel Sanchez was saying about the business part. Y'all don't promote yourselves. Y'all wait for the media to come in and do interviews and put you on TV. Don't wait for those suckers. You got to be on your own. You got to push it. And you finish racism in boxing, then guess what? Leave all these channels. Form your own businesses, your own channels, your own companies. You know who does that? A lot of Mexicans do that. They have their own channels, and they have their own networks in their own countries, and they have their own boxers and their own business supporting their boxers. Same from the Puerto Ricans, Colombians, Dominicans, Cubans, Panamanians, Argentines, etc. You guys got to stop bitching about racism all the time, man. It annoys the crap out of me. Because we're going to hear again about racism and colorism in boxing, and you're going to go the same cycle all over again. If you don't like the so-called racism in boxing, then leave the sport. Create your own boxing federation, your own boxing venues, channels, etc. Support it yourself. Make it all black owned if you feel that way. Call it Black Legends Boxing. I don't care. Take that $1 trillion that you guys brag about as your consumer rate and invest in that. Because already a lot of Mexicans are doing that on their own, Puerto Ricans, etc. Other Russian channels, they've been doing that on their own. And it's just as I want to sit there and say that I totally disagree with a lot of Dante. There's a lot of things he's correct about Abel Sanchez and his hypocrisies. And just why I disagree with Abel Sanchez, there's certain things he's right about when he talked about with Dante. And what they should be talking about more about is the fact that more people are not watching boxing and that more fans are leaving to UFC. Why don't you talk about that? Oh, what about Earl Spencer and Charlo? Yeah, people want to see Gennady Golovkin versus Charlo. People don't know who Charlo even is. People don't even know, most of the boxers you named, Dante, most people don't know who they are. And I'll be honest with you, that's the fault of the promotion company, and that's the fault of the fighter. And also, whose the fault is the community itself. You don't support your boxers. That's why you're in the state that you're in.